everyone. Greetings, everyone. It's your boy Sundin Esperance. Welcome to episode 34 of the IThrived Podcast. Today, I got with me Miss Michelle Durand. Greetings, Michelle. How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much.
Perfect. So as before we begin, as most of you know, this podcast is sponsored by JEVEUXJOUERCA. JEVEUXJOUERCA is a youth program designed for youth that teaches life skills through a variety of programs and that offers tutoring services in French, English, and math. If you want more information, you can go on JEVEUXJOUERCA.ca. Link is in the description as well. Also, this podcast only affiliates itself with one church and one church only. That's First Church of our Lord Jesus Christ, with the leader, teacher, and guide is Apostle Pastor Gino Jennings. If you want to search him up, you can go on YouTube, type Gino Jennings. If you haven't heard of him, if you want to go as well, you can go on theTruthOfGod.com and search and see if there's a temple that's close to you. All right. So greetings all. I hope all is well. Today I got with me Michelle Durand, who is going to give her transformation on how things began. Michelle had an abortion, and it took her some time to get over, I presume. So I'm excited to see what this is the story and how it all began and how you realized that guilt came, or you realized it was wrong. Because for those of you that may not believe, especially those of you with small kids and stuff like that, you'd be shocked by the amount of people who really don't care. They condone it. They feel no ways, and at least that's what they say they feel, right? But a lot of times people don't realize that an abortion is not something where you just want to drink water or pick up a pack of water bottles at the grocery store. There's things that you have to deal with afterwards, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. Michelle's gonna let us all know. So Michelle, the floor is all yours. So tell us how a bit about yourself, but how things began and how it went around.
Okay, so my story started back when I was 15 years old. I was in a relationship with a serious relationship with a guy that was 2 years older than myself. And I was very young, he was young, but I found myself in an unplanned pregnancy. We had already been broken up, and we were separated at that point. And I just didn't want him to know, because I didn't want him to influence me one way or the other. And again, I was very young. So, trying to take the situation into my own hands was what I did. And I had a few friends who were older than myself, and girlfriends, and they found when they were with me when I found out I was pregnant, and they were, telling me that you could just have an abortion. It's no big deal. I had one, I'm fine. It's nothing. You just go have it done. And after, you're just like before. So I believed that. I didn't know any better. I did not tell him. So, we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, as we go along. But so for my story, I did not tell him. And I went ahead and I had the abortion. And I really thought, I didn't think about if it's wrong or if it's right. I just thought about this is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to do, because I don't want to have a baby right now. I don't want it to, I don't want it to mess up, is how I felt, to be honest, my whole rest of my life, because having a child, that's what it would do. I did not want to place my baby for adoption because I was being selfish, and I felt like that would be harder for me emotionally than to actually have the abortion. That is my reasoning, and that's what I told myself, and that's what I believed. And so I went forward, I had the abortion, and all I remember after was the whole experience was traumatic. It was painful. This was many years ago, because I'm now in my 50s. This was 40 years ago. So abortion had really only become legal with less than 5 years at that point. So there wasn't a lot of information out there. And I left there feeling horrible. Like, when you go there, you don't know how you're going to feel. No woman knows how she's going to feel when she walks in that abortion clinic, but you definitely feel different when you walk out. And in my situation, I definitely felt a loss. I felt horrible for what I had done, like immediately. But in order to go on with my life, like nothing happened, because I didn't want anyone to know. So I wanted it to be a secret. Well, that's when we go into the relief and denial. The stages, abortion is, you definitely have a grieving process. And the first stage of grief is relief and denial. So of course, I was already in denial. I was in denial before I went to have the abortion, honestly, thinking, okay, it's just going to be no big deal. It's just a blob of tissue. I'll be on my period. Like, I worked myself up to fall into that lie that it's not a big deal. It's really nothing. I'm just going to be the same after, which was totally not true. And for my situation, so in order to, yes, I felt relief that, okay, now I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to worry about this. I don't have to make a decision. That's the relief part. But in order to cope and survive, we go into denial, like, okay, I really didn't do this. No one knows. So it's the secret, but like, it's a secret because I don't want anyone else to know. And I want to pretend it never happened.
Did your parents know? So you're 15, like, who went to go get the abortion with you? Didn't you have to be like 18 or something at that time?
Yeah, you just need someone to sign. So I just had a friend come with me, and my parents were against abortion, and I knew that. And so I just really went against what they had taught me and what I knew that they believed. Like I said, I was more so not even in that frame of mind, like, is this right or wrong? I was just like, this is what I have to do, period. I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm going to find a way to do this, because I did not want anyone to know. And I knew it would hurt them, and I knew it would hurt the father of the baby. So it was more reasons for me to just keep it a secret and never talk about it. And I never, ever wanted to talk about it. So, but after a few years, probably about 18 or 19, I really felt that I needed to share. I mean, it's hard as a woman to keep that. It's torture. It's mentally torturing to try to cover it up and live a lie and keep that secret. And I told one of my close friends, and, just things slip out and leak out. And sure enough, other people started finding out. And it's when people started finding out that, and they would ask me, come to me and ask. And again, I would say no, I would lie, I would deny it, say, no, it's not true. So, I know this is very common. I mean, so many women, it is a secret for so many years. And maybe they don't tell a single soul. But in my situation, the father of the baby did find out. I think the beginning I lied. I definitely lied to him. I wasn't ready. Okay, that's the whole thing. I wasn't ready to share. I wasn't ready to talk about it. So I just said, no, it's not true. And it took years before I told him the truth. And he was heartbroken, and he was very, very affected by my decision and that I did not tell him. So that compounded my guilt. I was already full of shame because now people were finding out what I had done, and I knew it was wrong. And I went to confession, but that was like, for me to just go to confession and tell my sin, and then have a to do something in penance. It just didn't do anything for me. I just felt like the pain was still there. The shame was still there. Like the guilt was still there. I just went through the actions. And until I was about 21, so I'm sure a lot of this had, to do with my maturing. But when I was about 21 years old, I went to a different church with a friend of mine, and they were really sharing the word of God in a different way that I had never heard before. And I was crying and crying and crying. And I went up to the altar, and the lady met me there, and I felt really safe, and I trusted her, and I shared with her, but God could never forgive me, for the sin, because that's what I had believed. And she said, "That's not true, honey. He can forgive you for any sin." And at that moment, is when I finally really, really opened up my heart and allowed myself to believe that he could forgive me. And I felt him like just wrap his arms around me and say, "Michelle, I love you. No matter what you've done, I forgive you and I love you." And I was so broken. But that was the first step of my realization and me really being broken and open enough to accept his forgiveness and his grace and his love. Okay. And not feel like I had to punish myself. But I wish I could tell you that, okay, I left there and everything was great, but that's not the case. And I know you talk to other women who've been through abortion situations, and, it's not an easy experience to heal from at all. It's very complex. We're taking the life of a child, and we deep down in our soul, we know that baby was inside of us. Like, we know what we've done. We can try to hide it, cover it up, but the truth is inside, and we know that. And
what kind of abortion did you get?
it was a vacuum suction.
A vacuum one as well.
Mm-hmm. And I remember the pain, and I was crying, and I remember the nurse just saying, you need to stop crying and quit moving. You were woman enough to have sex. You need to, you need to just deal with this. And that hurt me even more. Like that terror, that traumatized me so much but I felt it. I felt the pain. I heard, and I felt the suctioning. And for a long time, okay, let's talk about, that's like, I've been sharing my emotional and spiritual feelings, but talk about physical. Whenever I would go to the doctor and I have to be in that position, I would have flashbacks and triggers. And I didn't realize this though until I looked back. When we're in that moment and when we're dealing with emotions that are unhealed, there's triggers that are going to happen. Mm-hmm. We may see a picture, we may see a billboard or a commercial or something on social media. And it's painful. It brings us flashback right back to where we were when that trauma happened.
Absolutely. And so even like hearing a vacuum sound as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Another thing, like how do you clean the house after that?
Or if anyone's around you cleaning the house, you get angry.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you may not know why.
Yeah. Wow. And so, I mean, because at 15, that's so far you're the youngest one I've heard, and it's it's tough and all, but one thing and I'd want to know is how long did it take for you to get over this?
Good question. So as I shared, I was about 21 when I had that experience with spiritually feeling like, okay, I really can believe God can forgive me for this. Mm-hmm. But it took a few years later, I got married and I was ready to have children. I believed and I felt like I would not be able to have children because I would be punished for what I had done. Like he gave me a baby and I didn't want it. I basically threw it away. And now why would he give me another baby? That's what I believed. That's what so many women believe. And unfortunately, some women can't ever have children after their abortion. And that is painful for me to sit with those women and hear their story. And it's just heartbreaking. It's very sad, but it is a consequence sometimes of the abortion procedure. And but I was able to conceive again. And there's always a silver lining. God loves us so much and he forgave me. He forgives anyone who's, very sorry, truly sorry, for repentant for what they've done. And I was able to get pregnant. And I was due to have my baby in January, and I started having premature labor. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to lose the baby. I really thought that. I thought I didn't feel worthy to be a mother for what I had done, but I wanted to be a mom. But those fears came back, like I'm going to lose the baby, So I had to keep going in and out of the hospital. I was due January 18th, and I was in and out the hospital. And then on Christmas Eve, we had all the family over, and my contractions, after they left, my contractions were really getting stronger. Went to the hospital the next morning, which was actually Christmas Day. And I remember thinking they're going to do the same, thing. They're going to put the IV, they're going to stop the labor, and then they're going to send me back home with the pills to stop the contractions. And I was in there, and the nurse came in, and I said, when are they going to release me to go home? She goes, you're not going anywhere. You're having that baby today. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this baby on Christmas Day. And he was born on Christmas Day. And I remember the first thing people would say to me, like the nurses, and they're like, oh, poor baby, he's going to, be short a gift because he has birthday on Christmas. And I would always say this, and I said it in front of him as he grew up. Nope, he's so special. He has the same birthday as baby Jesus. But to me, that was healing. That was more healing happening because, I realized that that was a significant special time for me to have a baby born on Christmas Day when I didn't think I'd ever have a child again, with the best gift I could ever ask for in my life. A second chance.
Now, after the first kid, now what happened? So did you get over the abortion right after, or?
No, it definitely gave me, I was happy. I was so excited that I was finally a mom when I was, ready to be. And when he was 6 months old, I got pregnant again. And I couldn't believe it, but I was thrilled. So I had another baby. So again, I had preterm labor. So as part of my testimony, I share this, that it was the exact same situation as with the first. And I can't prove this, but I definitely feel in my situation that this was a consequence of my abortion. That's when they performed that procedure and forced my cervix open when it wasn't naturally ready to give birth, when you have the abortion procedure, that's why my babies were, when they got to a certain 20 something weeks, I started having premature labor, and always a risk of them being born too soon and having to stay in NICU. So I had to stay off of my feet most of my pregnancies with them in order for them to stay growing inside of me. And then she was born 14 months after my son. And so then I had a boy and a girl, and she was born right before Easter. And again, that was a significance to me as well. Just being in the Christian faith, that Easter is a significant time, just like Christmas, it's when he rose from the dead. And so he just gave me so many second chances, and I felt so grateful. But now think about it, I'm a busy mom. I have 2 little kids under the age of 2. And my husband at the time, his job took us to Indonesia. And when we got to Indonesia, I'm away from the chaos of the world. You know what I mean? It's just like different life and totally different life. Okay. Away from everyone I knew. I don't know anyone there. And except my husband and my 2 kids. And I woke up in the middle of the night, and I had these words that just were needing to come out. So I had a pen and paper by my bed, and I just started writing. And it was a poem. It was a poem about my abortion and about my baby. And I had often had dreams about a baby boy, and he looked just like the father. And I knew that was my soul, speaking to me. And I knew I had to deal with this because I had pushed it down so far, but yet I'm trying to be a mother with the wound of my abortion. I knew I'd be overprotective. I would feel like I would be punished and they would be taken away. And I didn't want to continue down that path. And I know God didn't, because those words came to me, those dreams came to me. He was calling me closer to really deal with this and to finally heal from it. And this was about 10 years, at least, after my abortion. So you're talking about a decade, and that's pretty average, honestly, for women. That's about the point that most of them come to me and say, I really want to go through this, program with you. Their abortion is usually about 10 years. And just it's just common. And so for me, it took me a few years to really process all my emotions. And it was a slow process for me, but it was a deep, deep healing. And when that time was done, when I felt like, okay, I'm ready to talk about this, I'm healed, I want to share it, I was able to go to Israel on a trip, and I went. And so as I'm in Israel, I'm standing there looking over. It's just beautiful. You're in literally God's country. You're walking where Jesus walked, and you feel his presence in so many of those areas. And I remember standing there overlooking all the mountains, and I could just feel that sense of God speaking to me saying, Michelle, I want you to share what I've done for you, because I want to do that for other women who've had abortions. And I'll never, ever forget that my entire life. I feel like that's when that seed was planted, that this is what he wanted me to do. And shortly after, he moved us to Texas, and I wanted to start sharing. So I went to a local pregnancy help center. I started counseling there, and most of the women that would sit in front of me either wanted to have an abortion or they had had abortions. And I can remember sitting with them, and they didn't know I had an abortion because this was about them. And then they would start to share that about their abortion to me. And they'd say, but you don't understand. You don't know how I feel. And I would just look at them in the eye and say, yes, I do. I had an abortion too. And that connection there, and then them knowing that, wow, you did, and you don't have to stay this way. And then that's when I became really trained and learned how to lead women through a abortion program, post-abortive abortion recovery program. And a movie was made there about my story. It's called Holly's Story. And, we used that in the pregnancy center. We moved back to Indonesia. I brought it with me, and I opened a pregnancy center there, and we helped babies become adopted out. And then my life went on, and I got divorced and all that. But so, it took me many years, but when I look back, God really, he had to do that deep, deep work in me, so that what he took years to do in my life, it can take a woman literally 8 weeks to go through this process, because I'm able to lead them through the key areas and those key steps that they need to look at and address in order to find closure. The biggest thing they struggle with is forgiving themselves.
Yeah, that's a lot. I heard that a lot. But moreover, you said 8 weeks. How can you be so sure that every single woman who gets an abortion can heal in 8 weeks?
Yeah, I can't be 100% sure, because I only can lead them. Okay. It takes them wanting to do that and be willing to participate, but willing to really go inward and do that work, and feel what they're feeling and express it. So as they express it and they go through the grieving process, by the end of those 8 weeks, those women and men, because I've led men too, I lead men too, by the time they're done with it, and we come to this point where they have expressed all those emotions of anger and guilt and regret and shame and all those complex emotions that are all together. That's what makes it a syndrome, is so many different feelings together that is overwhelming. But when they realize, number one, they're not alone, and they really sit with themselves and do that inner work. And when they come through to that point, they feel closure, and they've named their babies. They're able to celebrate their babies, and give them the honor and the dignity and the respect that they never had. And that's that special time when they have that space and that freedom, to do that. Because when they're in the guilt and the shame and the anger, they're not thinking about, oh, my baby's in heaven and I'm going to see my baby one day, and so I can have peace. And so they really, I use the scripture because, if you remember King David lost his son and he was grieving. And then he said, but I can't bring my baby back. All this grieving is not going to bring my baby back. But my hope is I know I'm going to see my baby in heaven one day. And that's the hope that they then have, is that they will be reunited with their baby, and to understand that their baby forgives them. And when they realize that and really believe it in their heart and their mind, they are able to better forgive themselves. Does that make sense?
So when you say heaven, you know, what guarantees that they'll see their baby in heaven?
Well, again, that depends on their belief, you know, and their belief system. So
What do you mean belief system? Like, give me more of an
okay.
explanation on that.
So if they are taught and they choose to believe that there is life after death, okay, there is another realm in the spiritual world, then that's, I mean, most people have a belief system. You know, I lived in Indonesia and they maybe didn't believe in Jesus, but they believed in Allah. It's the same. It's not the same, but some creator created all of us wherever we are in the world. And yes, everyone believes different. And, but most people have hope in something, or else they just feel doomed. I mean, you know, they just don't have a reason to live. So that's just my take on it. I really don't have the answer to that.
Also, like, there's no guarantee, of course, they're gonna see their baby
Right.
in heaven, pretty much.
That's
you know
right.
What I mean? So of course,
Yeah.
you know, going to believe. But let's go in terms of, let's niche it, you know, because of course, if we're broad, it's gonna be tough for you to answer that, right? So let's niche it. Now, a lot of times, of course, you know, with what a lot of people know to be Christianity, and you know, where they have, you know, that belief, and it seems like every time someone dies, you know, they're all going to heaven or some sort. But you know, is it possible, of course, for somebody to believe in something wrong? And you know, I mean, what guarantee, what can guarantee them in terms of knowing that because they believe what they believe, they're going to go to heaven? So let's say it could be a person who, you know, they call themselves Christian, because today anybody calls himself Christian today. You know, a lot of people call themselves that, but you know, their works, the way they are, you know, a sinner could see this person is not a Christian, or even, you know, most of the time it's a sinner themselves. So how is it, can somebody who, you know, calls himself Christian, or how is it, like, for example, yourself, you know, when for you, like, what is it in terms that you believe in, where, you know, you will see your, you know, aborted baby in heaven?
Well, number one, I believe the Bible to be true. And
so from Genesis to Revelation.
Yeah.
Every word in there. I gotta make sure, you know, because not everybody believes in the Bible, you know. So from
I know.
Yes. So from all the way from Genesis 1:1 all the way to Revelation, the last verse, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the Bible. Okay. Like, and so I don't really, I leave room for people to, I believe everyone has their own beliefs. Everyone has their own opinions, even my children, you know, and they don't believe the way I do, but it's
how do you believe? That's what I'm asking for yourself, right? We have to niche it, because I want to more talk about yourself, because obviously if you, like, for example, if I believe that this shirt is black, I want to make sure everybody else believes that this shirt is black. You know what I mean? So, I mean, if somebody believes this shirt is brown or dark blue, whatever the case is, clearly they're obviously wrong. So if I'm guaranteeing that, man, if you know that shirt is black, then you'll walk 10 steps, whatever the case is. So in terms of yourself, because you have to have it, like, for example, for yourself, you believe that you are going to see your aborted baby in heaven, correct? You believe that, correct? So in terms of your belief, like, what is your belief? That's what we want to, like, what is your belief? And you know how, and I want to know, like, why you're very sure that, you know, with your belief, you're going to see your aborted baby in heaven.
First of all, I personally don't think that, okay, if you don't believe like me, you're wrong. I definitely don't feel that way. First off, I believe if you want to believe your shirt's not black, then go ahead. That's your right. That's your priority. You know, that's your opinion. And, you know, everyone as a human has a choice of what they want to believe. And I don't, who's to say, I don't say I'm right and my way is the only way. I have been there in my life. Definitely I've been there. And I have learned that, you know what? I don't know. And I can tell you right now in my 50s that I can clearly say, I don't know if my way is the only way. I don't know that. And I don't know that. I'm not going to sit here and say that someone's wrong if they don't believe like I do. I say, I will agree to disagree. I respect everyone's beliefs. Everyone has a right to that. Again, I don't feel like anyone's right or wrong. And I don't feel like I'm the right way and my way is the only way. No, not at all. So whatever gives someone hope and peace, that's what they need to have. Because if someone is so depressed and at the point of suicide, they have to believe in something to give them hope again. And many people are suicidal after abortion. Many. They have no hope. They're just dead inside. And they have to find that hope and that light for themselves. You know, I can only share so much, but they have to find it on their own. They have to feel something, you know.
Yeah, but once again, so what do you believe in?
What do I believe in?
Yes, like what's your belief?
My belief is that we all were created by our creator, whatever you want to call it, God. Everyone has a different name for him. I call him God. That's how I was raised. That's what I grew up with. That's what I just choose to say. And but I can call him creator, the universe, whatever. I've come to realize that, especially living and visiting all over the world, we all have different beliefs. We all have different names, but someone created me and someone created you.
Well, absolutely. Like for me, I know my belief. I know who created me. I know that. I'm asking for yourself. Like, what is your belief in terms of like denomination wise? Like, you know, what's your religion? Are you Catholic, Jew, or Mormon, Jehovah? Like, what is your belief? Like, what do you believe in? What's your faith?
Just Christianity. I just believe that Jesus died on the cross for my sin, including abortion. And I believe in that. And I believe that he died and he rose and went to heaven, and he's still in heaven, and he will return and we will go to be with him. I will go to be with him. And that's what I believe. And I choose to believe, choose is the key word, that my baby is in heaven and he's safe and sound in the hands of Jesus. That's my belief.
No, so okay, so you say you believe, and so for Christianity, because I know a lot of times people, you know, they say it's the umbrella of you know, a bunch of religions and whatnot.
Religion,
So
yeah.
where did you discover Christianity?
I was born and raised Catholic, and then when I became an adult, I went to different churches. You know, I went to non-denominational, just Bible-based churches. I went to Baptist churches. Indonesia, it was an international fellowship. That's what we called it. International Christian Fellowship. And I, you know, was very close with my people that worked for us, and they were Muslim. And so I loved them. They were my family, you know, they helped me with my kids. So that's where I just developed just a worldly love and acceptance of everyone and their religions. And the women I helped were Muslim women, you know, who had babies. And so I loved them all the same. Yeah, so, I never wanted to see religion like become you know, to separate us. I'm all about unity. And
no, but of course again, it's gonna separate, you know, because I mean, you said you're in your 50s. If you're in your 50s, you should know there's thousands of religions out there that separates the people, because one person's religion forbids them to do one thing, you know. So I mean, because it's just, for me, I want to get the common line within, you know, the abortion and the truance of, you know, getting over your struggle of feeling guilty, getting over, because for me, you know, it's, you know, the reality, you know, I like realism. I like people, you know, to be over things for real and stuff. And it's doing that at 15 and being in 50s and you're over it. I think it took a couple of years and whatnot. Not everybody can get over it in that manner, So but I get what you're saying. Just one quick question for yourself in terms of Christianity is, so where, like, so because you said you grew up Catholic, so and then you went to non-denomination and Baptist and stuff, so it just did not work out going to those churches?
Oh no, I learned at every single church that I went to. I learned, I grew in my faith, I grew in my knowledge, and my beliefs developed through that. And so and I moved a lot, so that was another part of it.
So what would you call yourself today?
I just call myself a Christian.
Okay.
I don't associate with one particular religion. I'm open to, I read Buddha, I read, just Bali, there's Hindu, and I loved Bali. And so I'm just learn from all of it. I love to learn and just work on my own personal development.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so it's glad that you said you love to learn. And so can you truly say like 150% that you've overcame and that you're over the abortion that you have? Like, I'm talking about 150%.
Yes, absolutely.
And
with 150% certainty, I can tell you that I have totally healed from my abortion and the experiences and the emotions that followed that procedure. Yes.
And how does a woman know she's healed from it? How do you know? Because you've gone, especially for yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, not just, 10 months now. We're talking about, 10 years and of, that grief and stuff like that. So how does a woman know 150%? Like how does she know she is like, over it? She understands that what was done. She knows that God's forgiven her and that she has to just keep striving to live a holy and pleasing life unto the one true living God. How does a woman, like, how does she know?
I love that question because a woman, first of all, a woman to know that she is healed, first thing I think about is she's able to share her story without pain, because if she can talk about it and share her story and vocalize it without crying, without pain. Now, don't get me wrong. I've cried still when I've shared my story, if something was very moving to me, because I'm a very empathic, compassionate person. But when they're ready and they feel healed, they will want to share their story. And sometimes they want to share it too soon, but they're not ready. They just want to do it more out of guilt. Like, I feel really bad and I don't want my baby's life to be in vain. So I really want to speak out. I want to help other women, which is great, but they should be healed first. And sometimes they don't know 100%, if they're truly healed. And that I've seen that over and over again. They doubt it. They doubt their healing. They doubt their forgiveness. So it is a great question. And I know for me to sit here and say, oh, I know 100% I'm healed. There might be some other things in my life down the road that happen. And I realize, wow, I really didn't deal with that. There's some pain there from that. I haven't felt that in many years, which is why I can confidently sit here and tell you this. But earlier on, like right after you feel like you're healed and you've gone through this process, things will still trigger. After people leave and they go through the group, they feel healed. But I always remind them, look, healing is like peeling an onion, and there may be something that will trigger you again, but don't let that doubt your healing. It's part of your healing. Just keep on healing. I believe we're going to all heal in some way or another from things we've been through in our life till the day we die.
Wonderful.
But to sit here right now, yeah, I do feel like for me, without abortion and my baby, and also a big part of this is I was able to talk to the father of the baby and tell him, this is huge. Okay. This was after I was healed, felt really, healed from this and called to start doing what I was doing. Out of respect, I contacted him, and this had been over 10 years. And I told him I was very sorry. I never realized how much the abortion had affected him. I was all self-consumed in my own. Now I'm healed. I wanted him to know this. He was so grateful that, number one, that I was healed. He said, you were not the same person after that. And I felt so bad. And we had a great conversation. And, we've had many conversations, and he has definitely been working on his healing as well. So again, that's where I said earlier in the beginning, men are affected also. That brought me healing to be able to talk to him, and to share, to tell him I was sorry for the pain I caused, because I had a lot of guilt from that. So that's another part of that healing that happened.
Well, that's wonderful. And I definitely want to get a couple men on the show, because people think, and those of you watching, you may think it's only women that go through the trauma and sleepless nights and maybe suicidal thoughts and the tears, the pain, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's not just the woman. Men go through it either just the same or even worse than the women at times, because especially if he was pushing that, because a lot of the times they just didn't know better. I mean, at 15, you knew in terms of what your parents did or what your parents wanted. But at that moment in time, you just did not know better enough to not do it. You didn't understand what came after. It's like a kid. You're telling the kid, don't put your hand over the stove. He doesn't know. Like, the kid doesn't really know what could happen. What could be good. Exactly. And he puts that hand over the stove. And next thing you know, he loses a finger or a pinky. And now he goes years later, he may have to deal with that. I can't believe I lost a pinky. I can't, like, crying and saying, I might as well cut the whole hand off. You get what I mean? So it's people go through these things, and really it's, when talking about it is not easy. So those of you thinking, the ones that come on the show and talk about their abortion, I'm telling you right now, women, not there's a higher percentage of women who can't talk about it. They just can't, because it's too much for them. They just, because that's how much they realize, man, I killed a kid. I murdered a child. And now you have to, and can you imagine if they started throwing people in jail? Can you imagine if they start to say, okay, as soon as you got this abortion, you're coming on the death chair? Because look, if a person is live and they kill a 1-year-old, a toddler, I won't be shocked. They sentence him to death. So now what happens to the one that aborts the baby? And those of you may be upset with what I'm saying, but it's true. It's true. It's, and I get it. Once again, situations occur where you feel as though you should, but it should never be a time where mentally you should say, oh, because such and such thing happened to me, now I get to go kill this innocent. It's like, for example, if somebody bullied my little sister, it can't give me a reason to say I'm gonna kill them now. What's the difference? And those of you, and honestly, it's a serious question. If aborting a baby is not murder, if it's not killing somebody, please tell me what it is in the comments below. Please, I want to know. What else is it? It's my body, it's my choice, it's this and that. Whoa. Don't forget, men go through this as well. And for some women, when some men, they want the kid and you still did it. Now what happened? Your body, right? Your body. But now him, he doesn't have no say. My days. And so it's a lot of trauma that goes along with this. So Michelle, I really do thank you very much for, coming and taking the time, and because I know it's not easy. A lot of times people just don't want to talk about it. They want to kind of go as a person. They don't know that's wrong. You don't have, not all of you have to go out there and tell everybody, hey, I had an abortion, but if, you feel strong enough to share the story and share the pain you went through, no doubt, and it's never something that should be forced either, because it's not an easy thing to deal with. Before we close, Michelle, what message would you have for someone right now watching and right now about to go get an abortion tomorrow, about to set up the appointment for next week, about to set up the appointment next, wants to get an abortion? Someone right now watching, someone who's had an abortion yesterday, who just came from the clinic and now they're guilty, so they come and tune on to the IThrived podcast. What message would you have for them, Michelle?
So many. I just, first of all, to any woman or man listening, and you're contemplating an abortion, just know that, as you just said, we don't know how we're going to feel until we leave. And most women and men feel really a lot of guilt, pain, shame. They know that they've taken the life of their baby, and it's something you have to live the rest of your life with. Even though I'm healed, I have to live the rest of my life knowing what I've done to my son. And to all, I want them to know that no matter what situation they're in, there will always be a way. When we choose life, everything we need will show up. When we choose life, we are honored by that decision to give life. And having an adoption is still choosing life. And it's giving that baby a chance to still live at the same chance we have to be here, sitting here talking today. We can be alive. They deserve that as well. And to someone who's already had an abortion, just know that you never have to live the rest of your life in the guilt, the shame, the grief, that you can heal. You can be set free from that bondage. You just have to do the work, reach out for help. And if someone is listening who's wanting to have an abortion, pregnancy help centers, there's so many resources out there now that will help every step of the way. You know, for the areas of questions that they don't know, they will definitely help you. Reach out to them. And if anyone's suicidal, there's hotlines. But just know that there's always a way, whether you're wanting to have an abortion or whether you've already had abortion, you can find healing after abortion as well, for men and women.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for the message. Truly appreciative of it. Those of you, you've heard it. Like I said, I could, go on day talk about abortion, but I took someone who had that experience and who's telling you. This is someone who's, at 15, young. Some of you may be 20, 21, 25, 30, whatever the case is. So I hope this really helps. Thank you, Michelle, for coming on. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for even taking the time out through your evening to come on. It's truly, truly appreciated. Those of you, as you know, as before we close, this podcast is sponsored by JEVEUXJOUERCA. You can go on JEVEUXJOUERCA.ca. Link is in the description. Also, this podcast affiliates itself with one church, and that's First Church of our Lord Jesus Christ, with a leader, teacher, guide as Apostle Pastor Gino Jennings. Thank you very much. Like, share, and subscribe. This really, real talk, this is really to help people out here. This is, not for, it's not a game right now. People are really going through this. People are seriously, have probably already done it. And, so thank you very much for tuning in all. Take care. God bless and peace be. Thank you, Michelle, very so much. It's truly appreciated. It's your boy, Sundin Esperance. You already know what it is. Peace be.